Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we have our first episode of the No Huddle podcast, and I have my brother Nathan here with me. Nathan, what do we got for today?
First up, we have the National Signing Day recap of the 2023 class, and then we'll finish it off with a look ahead to 2024.
All right, so let's get things started here. Today was National Signing Day, headlined by Nicholas Harbor going to South Carolina. This is a big win for Shane Beamer. Many people thought near the end that Oregon was leading here because of his official visit. He visited there, got to look at the track facilities. Dan Lanning and company, they really rolled out the red carpet here. Phil Knight was in town. So, and what do you think of Nicholas Harbor going to South Carolina?
I think it's a big get for Shane Beamer and pretty big loss for Dan Lanning as they went for him really hard towards the end of the cycle. Maybe if they went after him a little more harder earlier, started out a little more, might have a better chance. But I think it's a good place for him to go.
Yeah, I agree. I think near the end of his recruitment, I think relationships and how long Shane Beamer was going after, and I think that played a big role and ultimately why he chose South Carolina. Another commitment that took place involving Oregon, but Oregon actually got this one. It was Roderick Pleasant from Southern California. He's a cornerback, but from what I'm hearing, Oregon might use him on both sides of the ball, and that was really enticing. And part of the reason he did go to Oregon with the possibility of playing offense. Roderick Pleasant, he's one of the faster players in the country, and he broke this. I think it was just the California record for the 100-meter dash, which is pretty impressive by itself. And he also wants to run in the 2024 or the 2028 Olympics, either in the 100-meter or 200-meter. Overall, this is a big time athlete that's headed to Eugene. And what do you think about this one?
Really fast, maybe just as fast as Nicholas Harbor or faster. And what you said, Oregon needs a lot more cornerback depth right now. And with getting Cole Martin and Dalen Alston as well, it's really help.
Yep,
Like,
100%. Yep. I think now I don't want to say Oregon didn't want Nicholas Harbor, but I think Pleasant's a much more of a need. I think Harbor was more of a want. And like you said, they're getting a guy like Dalen Austin in there, who's also a really high prospect. You have Cole Martin coming in from Arizona. So overall, Oregon just adding depth to the defensive back room. I also want to hit on Deuce Robinson here. He did not sign today. Many people didn't think he was going to sign. Georgia's the heavy favorite here. The crystal ball does favor Georgia on 247 Sports. I don't really know what's going on. I know he wants to play baseball. He might be waiting to see where he goes in the draft and how things shape up there and how early he's going to get in wherever he's going to go, whether that's single A, double A, triple A. No one really knows right now. But he does want to play college football. And the teams that are going for him are Texas, Georgia, USC, Oregon. Alabama's in there just a little bit. It'll be interesting to see where he goes. Then Jaden Rashada, he went to Arizona State. Nathan, why do you think he chose Arizona State over the likes of TCU?
well, to start off, his dad played there, and Kenny Dillon was recruiting him pretty hard at Oregon before he ended up being the head coach at Arizona State. So that ultimately had a huge part in his decision.
Yeah, I think Kenny Dillingham was the main reason Jaden Rashada went to Arizona State. When Kenny Dillingham was at Oregon this past season, they missed out on Nico, who was their top target. And Jaden Rashada was the one, but ultimately they chose Dante Moore over Jaden Rashada. And Kenny Dillingham had a big relationship, big time, long lasting relationship with Dante Moore. Now it came full circle. Dillingham left Oregon, goes to Arizona State. He brought in Drew Pine at quarterback, but it's never a bad thing to bring in more talent into the quarterback room. So he went back, retraced his steps in his relationship with Jaden Rashad, and ultimately brought him home. Now, this is a big time get. Pac 12 has a lot of quality quarterbacks, as we know, a lot of big time players, and it's probably the most important position for a recruiting class. So going forward, I think Jaden Rashada, this is the right choice. Development, Arizona State, USC and UCLA are leaving the Pac 12. The door is going to be open for a lot of these teams at the bottom in the last couple years to rise up to the top. I think Arizona State's primed to do so. We also had Walker Lyons. He committed and signed with USC today. So USC, they missed out on Pleasant. They got Walker Lyons. He's going to be taking a 1-year mission for, I don't know what exactly it's for, but it's for the church. So he's not going to be able to play this upcoming season. Nonetheless, this is a big time get for USC. Next I want to talk about the Harris twins from Florida. Andrew Harris, he went to UCF, and then Michael Harris, he went to Maryland. Two big time linebacker prospects, both All Americans. This is surprising to see two twin brothers split up like this on signing day. Many people thought they're going to go to UCF together, but Andrew Harris decided to go play for Gus Malzahn, and Michael Harris headed to Maryland. And then we had a 2024 commit today. Ellis Robinson, the fourth. He's a 5-star number 2 corner in the class of 2024. He's headed to play for Georgia. Nathan, what can you tell us about that one?
Oh yeah, top 20 player in 2024 class. This is just gonna add to what Georgia's looking for the number one class in 2024, and a big get for Kirby Smart early on.
All right, so let's talk about some winners and losers from today. Now, I want to start out. I think Oregon and USC can both say that they won and lost. I think they're both winners and losers. Oregon, they missed out on Harbor, but they got Pleasant, and then USC, they got Walker Lions, but they missed out on Pleasant. Overall, those two kind of balance out. But we got to talk about South Carolina and what this means for them going forward. To get a win like this on the recruiting trail was much needed and added to a top 20 class for Shane Beamer. So the Gamecocks were definitely winners today. And then Arizona State, as we mentioned, they got Jaden Rashada, so that's a big time win. He visited TCU, and people thought TCU getting the last visit, maybe he was going to sign there today. Nonetheless, Kenny Dillingham got a big time get there at quarterback. Let's just overall recap the 2023 class. Go ahead, pull up these rankings. Nathan, what can you tell us what team that you want to start out with here?
Let's start out. We'll start with number one with Alabama. Why not?
All right. So Alabama, they signed the number 1 class. They got number 1 safety Caleb Downs as well. And Nick Saban, remember last year after Jimbo Fisher A&M, they signed the number 1 class. And Saban was like, oh, they bought all their players. Well, Saban responded and backed that up with going and signing the number 1 class without his coordinators. I'm not going to say he bought them, but
And he almost tied or beat the number one class from last year all time. It was like the maybe second best class of all time.
yeah, I think it is the second best. And Saban also has the third best class in 2021. But let's just look at some of these top players in this class real quick. When I'm looking at this list, I already mentioned Caleb Downs. He's the number 1 safety, 5-star out of Mill Creek, Georgia. They also got Justice Haynes. He's from Georgia, 5-star running back. Hayden Proctor, 5-star offensive tackle. Remember, he's the kid that flipped from Iowa to Alabama. His home city is Des Moines, Iowa. So he's headed down south, and I think he can play early for Nick Saban. He's got the right size. He's got everything going for him there. Alabama lost some linemen in the portal, so there's definitely going to be some spots open. Then on to Carver High School in Montgomery, Alabama, they got a duo of James Smith and Quay Rusall, which is probably the best edge and D-line duo in the class. 2 5-stars there. If any player in this class stand out to you?
Uh, Probably a sleeper, maybe Richard Young, really big Alabama type running back.
Yeah, Richard Young, he fell down the rankings quite a bit. He went down to 60 nationally, according to the composite. He's still the 4th running back, but there was a time he was the number 1 running back in this class, and many people regarded to him as the number 1 running back. So yeah, that's gonna do it for Alabama. And who do you want to look at next?
Let's look at Miami next.
All right.
They signed the number 7 overall class, and under Mario Cristobal, they got Francis Malgo, the number 2 offensive tackle behind Kane Proctor, number 4 offensive tackle, and Samson Oklanoa, number 11 edge and Ruben Bain, number 13 edge and Jane Wayne, and number 4 tight end and Riley Williams, and they also got a flip from Ohio State and running back Mark Fletcher and a cornerback number 17 position Robert Stafford.
Yeah, Mario Cristobal did a very good job year one. And when we talk about Mario Cristobal, he's a recruiter. He's top 5 recruiter in the country. That's the name of the game for them, for him and his staff, is talent acquisition. Like you said, you got Samson Okunlola and Francis Malagoa, the best offensive line class in the country. Two guys that can step in and fight for playing time early on. I think Miami's gonna continue to sign top 5, top 10 classes. Now they were the number 3 class at one point, but they lost Jaden Rashada to Florida. Then they lost Romani McLean to Colorado, and that ultimately dropped them to 7. Romani McLean was unexpected. He was expected to sign back on December 21st. So that really hurt their ranking, but nonetheless, they signed a really good class. 25 in total. I think they signed a good balance of position. I see tight end, edge, D lineman, offensive tackle. They got Bobby Washington at linebacker, who's a very underrated prospect as well. But nonetheless, Miami signed a really good 2023 class.
Did they get a quarterback? End up getting a quarterback in there?
I do not believe so. So yeah, Miami, they did miss out on a quarterback. Like I said, Jaden Rashada, he decommitted. And it was just really too late in the cycle for them to actually go and get someone. That's gonna hurt them going forward. They have Tyler Van Dyke for this year. Jake Garcia, he entered the portal. So they're gonna have to figure something out at quarterback after Van Dyke leaves. Be interested to see what Mario Cristobal and his staff does there. Nathan, what team you want to look at next?
Oh, let's go up to the Pac-12 and look at Oregon.
All right, go ahead. Let's get it.
All right, the highlight this class, they went out and got Dan Lane went out and got the number 2 wide receiver in Jurion Dickey, and also went out and got number 7 edge Mateo Uyagole, and number 4 athlete who will be probably playing tight end at Oregon, Kenyon Sadiq. Those are some 3 guys that really highlight this class. Anybody that you're looking out for?
Well, when I see this class, I'm just looking at this D line, this group of D line and edge rushers. I mean, let's just say this: Dan Lanning understands what needs to be fixed up at Oregon. Mario Cristobal when he was there, he was getting linemen, offensive linemen in there. Where they had Penny Sewell, he went high. They had Kayvon Thibodeau, but Dan Lanning's doing it the way of quantity, but with high quality. I mean, you got Ashton Porter, Amari Washington, Terrence Green, Blake Purchase, Akil Gardner, Johnny Bowens. You already said Mateo. And those are just edge guys. Tatum Tuodi, Tavita Pome, Jaden Moore. All those guys I just named, which was a lot of them. That's a lot of edge and D line players to come in and play. A lot of them early enrollees too. I think Mateo's going to step in and play early on. I don't want to talk about transfers too much since we're talking about recruiting and signing day, but seeing that they got Jordan Birch in the portal too with Mateo, definitely reinforcing the pass rush, getting those 2 guys. Yeah, Oregon sitting at number 9. They missed out on Nicholas Harbor, but like I said, they're one of the 5 teams going after Deuce Robinson. So I'd say the ceiling for this class is maybe 5th or 6th. Right now they sit at number 9, which is never a bad thing when you're out west, specifically Oregon and USC. They should be top 10, but number 9 class for Oregon, that's pretty solid.
Yeah, and with Deuce Robinson pushing his commitment back, that gives Oregon an opportunity to maybe get a visit in there, or just talk to him a little more, build those relationships up before he finally commits.
Yep, 100%. All right, so the next team I want to talk about, I want to talk about Auburn here. Now, they fired Brian Harsin, as many of you know, and a coaching change can sometimes just deteriorate a class. But Hugh Freeze did a great job coming in here and keeping guys signed or going out and get some pretty high impact players. And I look at these top 2 players, 2 defensive guys, Eldrick Falk and Kayan Lee. One's from Alabama and then Lee's from Georgia. You're talking about 2 high 4-star caliber players come in and play early on. Eldrick Falk is regarded by many to be a top 10, top 8 D lineman in this class. So getting that size up front and winning a recruiting battle like that in the state of Alabama is a big time get. and they also hammered away in the secondary. I already mentioned K and Lee here, who's a very good player. Then they got Colton Hood, Tyler Scott down there, two more Georgia guys. They also got Terrence Love from Georgia. So Hugh Freeze knows how to put this class together. Whether it's guys he already like inherited, they're already committed. He kept them and won some big time battles. Nonetheless, I think this is a really good class for Hugh Freeze. And
Yeah, and I know we're not talking about transfers. They also got 12 transfers coming in as well, which I know Hugh
yep.
Freeze is really happy about.
And when you have a bad season and a coaching change happens, talent acquisition is the name of the game. Hugh Freeze really understood that. He has Auburn sitting at the number 18 class. Ethan, what team are you thinking about looking at next?
Let's take a look at Texas. They have the number one player in Arch Manning. Take a look at them and the weapons that they're going to be surrounding him with.
Yeah, Texas. And they went out and got some instant playmakers at skill positions. You got Jonte Cook, who's a five-star wide receiver out of DeSoto, Texas. He was a state champion this year. You have Cedric Baxter Jr., who, according to the composites, the number one running back in the class. And that's probably the most underrated recruiting win in the entire country this cycle. Texas, they went into Orlando and they got Cedric Baxter Jr. Now I know Arch Manning played a big part. Arch and him had a pretty good relationship outside of football, and they always talked about playing together eventually. Nonetheless, Texas going into Florida again, the number one running back who grew up a Florida State kid. Dream school was to play at Florida State. And I know Mike Norvell and company, they got him in for a visit right before he committed to Texas. And the fact that Texas held on and solidified a key skill position because Bijan Robinson is no longer going to be there. Cedric Baxter, doors open to play for him. Nathan, what do you think about Anthony Hill getting him on defense?
Oh, it's a big give. Talking about playing day one, he's definitely going in there and going to be fighting for spots right when he's already enrolled. So yeah, he's fighting for spots right now.
Yep. I think Overshone, the linebacker for Texas, I think he's leaving. So, yeah, I think Anthony Hill's going to have an opportunity to play early. I want to hit on DeAndre Moore Jr. too. This is a kid that committed to Louisville. He was he was the receiver for quarterback Pierce Clarkson at St. John Bosco, and they both committed to Louisville. And then a coaching change happened. Jeff Brom came in, and DeAndre Moore decided to switch schools. So Texas got Jonte Cook and DeAndre Moore on the outside, two very underrated receivers in my opinion. Even though Jonte Cook's a five-star, he doesn't get enough talking about the best receiver. And they also signed a very good duo at safety and corner, Derek Williams, who's a five-star safety. I think he's going to play early too. And we talked about Anthony Hill playing early. I think he's going to play early. Malik Muhammad is the other one I was going to talk about. South Oak Cliff High School in Dallas, Texas. So they're getting two guys that are going to come in and play early on in the secondary for Texas. And Texas is sitting at number 3 in the recruiting rankings right now. Very good, solid class. And I'm sure the expectations are going to be just as high as usual for the Longhorns this year. And who are you looking at now?
Let's look at Oklahoma. They got number 4 quarterback Jackson Arnold, who has an argument to be number 1, as like all the top 4 quarterbacks do. Dante Moore and Nico as well. And they also have one of the biggest freaks of the class, and Adepoju Adebor, who's the number 2 edge, who just started playing football recently. So once he gets developed at Oklahoma, he's going to be very, very scary on the D line.
Yeah, I don't think enough can be said about these top 3 players that Oklahoma got. You mentioned Jackson Arnold and PJ Adebore. But then they got Peyton Bowen, too, who's also a 5-star. He's a number 2 safety in the class. Played at the same high school as Jackson Arnold. 3 big time players, I should say. They're going to come in and play early, try changing this culture around. Now, I think Jackson Arnold, he's going to be sent behind Dylan Gabriel year 1, but come year end, I don't see any way that Jackson Arnold doesn't see the field. It'll be interesting to see what he does in year 1. Looking at this class too, they got linebacker Samuel Omazigo from Crandall, Texas. Lewis Carter, another linebacker. You got Dave McCullough, a safety. They also picked up his brother Deshaun McCullough, who's an edge rusher in the portal. But Brent Venables, much like Dan Lanning, inherited a roster full of guys he didn't recruit, and let's just say their defenses didn't live up to expectations. Two defensive coordinators at very big schools, a lot of success, won national championships. And they came in, they're flipping their roster, they're getting their players in there. So I expect Oklahoma to make a big jump defensively in 2023 under Brent Venables. I expect him to play a lot of these young guys. Yeah, I can't wait to see what Oklahoma does this year.
Should be a very interesting year for Brent Venables in the second year.
Yep. Wait, got another team?
Let's look at Georgia in 2023, and then we can go look at 2024 as well.
All right, so let's start out 2023 Georgia. Who are a couple players that stand out to you, Nathan?
First off, Damon Wilson, the number 3 edge out of out of Florida, who's already enrolled at Georgia. I strong feeling that he might be fighting for spots on day one. I don't know for sure though. They got Michael Williams over there right now and Marvin Jones Jr. So it should be interesting to see if he gets on campus and starts playing right away. And they also have a really fast linebacker, Braylon Wilson, number 3.
Yeah, he's a freak.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he pans out. And then a really high riser late in the cycle, number 4 D lineman Jordan Hall. He'll be playing right away on Georgia.
Yeah, Jordan Hall is a guy I also want to talk about a little bit. This is a guy that was 4-star recruit, went to the All American Bowl and caught everyone's eye. Rose up recruiting rankings up to 5-star status. In the argument for a top 2, top 3 D lineman in the class. But we can't talk Georgia 2023 without talking about this linebacker class. This is up there for the best linebacker class, maybe of all time. And we're talking about Raylan Wilson, TJ Allen. You also got Troy Bowles down there. You got 3 of the top 5 linebackers in the entire country. 3 of the top 5, which is just crazy to think about. Raylan Wilson, as you already hit on, is one of the fastest players in the country, and he's playing linebacker at 6'2", 220 pounds. Troy Bowles, he's from Tampa, Florida. He's almost as fast as Raylan Wilson. So remember back, I think it was like 2019, 2018, Georgia was recruiting guys like N'Kobe Dean, Channing Tindall, Quay Walker. Well, this is pretty much the same thing. We're going to be seeing these guys in about 2024, 2025. We're going to be wondering how the heck did they get all 3 of these guys together and just rotate them through 3 NFL draft picks. Yeah, this class, they're number 2, but that's just a rating number. I mean, we could be talking about this being one of the best classes of all time if these players pan out. Talks about Damon Wilson, and they got Samuel and Pemba down there as well.
And Georgia loves their tight ends. They got
Yeah,
Pierce Berlin and Lawson Lucky, who are both top 10 tight ends, and they're going after Deuce Robinson as well. So just imagine that trio tight ends.
yeah, Kirby Smart, he's putting the work in the trail, and 2023, nothing different, but 2024, take a look at their 2024 class, and when it's talked about who's going to be number 1, people are asking, well, Georgia's number 1 right now, and by the looks of it, they're going to be on pace to break the all-time record for best class of all time. And they have 10 commits already in 2024, which is just insane. There's some schools that have like 1 or 2, if not any.
I'm willing to bet that most of them will be signing on signing day, that they will stay committed.
Oh, yeah. Because, I mean, looking at Georgia's schedule this year, too, they're going to be right back in the national championship discussion, winning 12, 13 games. No reason for these guys to decommit. Yeah, this is headlined by Ellis Robinson IV, who we already talked about, number 1 corner, 5-star prospect out of IMG Academy. Then Landon Thomas, he's the number 1 tight end. So we were talking about tight ends. Could you imagine if they get Deuce Robinson? They already have Pierce Sperling coming in. And then in 2024, they're getting Landon Thomas, who's the number 1 tight end, and is also a 5-star.
And they have Oscar Delp on the team right now. Will
Yep.
be there for a few more years.
Yeah, but he was also a very high recruit. They got Peyton Woodard signed here. You got Ryan Puglisi. He looks like he's going to be their quarterback. He's the 10th quarterback in this class. But speaking of quarterback, let's take a look at the 2024 class. Georgia's going after Dylan Raiola, the number one quarterback. So who knows if AJ Pugliese is going to be committed for any longer if Dylan Raiola decides to head to Athens and play for Kirby Smart. And then you got the 2024 class pulled up. Let's see who you think looking at right now.
Right now, I'm looking at Colin Simmons right now, number one edge out of Duncanville, Texas. Not not sure where he's like gonna go yet, but LSU kind of looking trending towards that right now. Steve Wolfong's got a prediction from the go
For
there.
LSU.
Yeah, he looks like a freak,
Yeah,
a complete game
he'd be
record.
on the freaks list.
Number 5 on the composite
If you,
player.
if you guys wonder what we're talking about, the freaks list is something that 247 Sports they do every just like the most gifted athletes in the class. Like Nicholas Harbor is number one. Not every day do you see 6'5", 230 pounds running the fastest 200-meter time. Like that's the definition of a freak athlete. And yeah, Colin Simmons, 6'3", 230, can run with the best of them at the outside linebacker position.
And we're talking about what Georgia could also do later on in this class. Sammy Brown, number 4 player in the state of Georgia, number 1 linebacker. Imagine
And,
if they get him.
and also KJ Bolden. He's from Buford, Georgia. Looking at his profile, Georgia was the only team that was considered warm. But he said that Ohio State and Alabama are definitely in that conversation as well. But Georgia's the home team here. Lot
Mike
of talent in
Matthews
Georgia. Mike Matthews,
from Georgia as well.
him and KJ Bolden are 3 and 4 in the class, and they're both from the state of Georgia. Dylan Raiola, we already talked about, he's favored to go to Georgia right now. So 3 of the top 4 players have Georgia as the favorite.
I know it's early, but this Georgia class, like, it's looking like it could be one of the best all time.
If not the best.
Yeah.
'Cause look, out of the top 13 players, 6 of them have Georgia probably in the driver's seat right now, which is just crazy to think about. But some other guys I want to hit on. There's 2 guys at 16 and 17 in the rankings, 2 5-star front 7 players, Elijah Rushing and Williams Nwirini. 2 5-star D-line and edge rusher. Both the recruitments are both starting to pick up pretty heavily here. Elijah Rushing getting looked at by West Coast schools. You got Arizona, Arizona State, Oregon, Washington, USC's in there. Ohio State got him on campus last spring, I believe. And then Williams Nwaneri, he's from Missouri. He took a visit to Oregon, Tennessee, Missouri. He's looking at Oklahoma, Michigan State. 2 very talented front 7 players. And we're really seeing their recruitment pick up here in the last couple of weeks with their visits. And they already have a couple visits scheduled for the spring. Be interested to see where those go. Another guy that stands out, Brian Wingo, 5-star wide receiver from St. Louis, Missouri. Tennessee's the current favored crystal ball, but he's said multiple times he has about 6 or 7 schools that he'd probably put in his top contenders without a favorite. And he did visit Colorado, so that list is probably up to 8 now. Coach Prime got him on campus. So when Coach Prime gets you on campus, you never doubt them. Anything can happen. And what are you thinking about this recruiting class outside of Dylan Raiola? We got Julian Sane and Jaden Davis.
I'm looking at DJ Lagway right now.
Oh, yep.
He's committed to Florida. We all saw what happened with Jaden Rashada. I don't know if that's Billy Napier's fault. Probably not what happened. But if Florida goes subpar again this year, and I wonder how that affects DJ Lagway's recruiting status. But also, if they do poor, he will be coming in right away in 2024 and be fighting for that starting spot.
Oh yeah, that's the way I look at recruiting too. A bad season's just an opportunity for a class to come in and change the culture and turn things around and play early on.
Like Miami. Sure.
Yep. Yeah, 2023 Miami class coming in next season. Those guys are going to be playing early. That's a very good example. Yeah, just going down the list here. This is one of the better front 7 class. I'm seeing a lot of D line and edge rushers here just in the top 50. We're talking T.A. Cunningham, the former 5-star number 1 D lineman, before the rankings got adjusted. He's from California, and he's all the way down at 41 as the 8th D lineman, which is crazy because at one point he was number 1. And he's right by a guy named Ernest Willer from IMG Academy, who, unlike T.A. Cunningham, he was low in the rankings. Now he's shot up. 247 Sports, they have him at 12, but he's 40th in the composite. So yeah, 2024 is going to be a really good class, kind of like 2023 was the class of the quarterback. 2024, this could be the class of the D line, linebackers, front seven type players.
And don't overlook the quarterbacks. They might only have like one top 10 player, but outside of Dylan Raiola, there's a lot of talent in this class.
Yep, like you said, DJ Legway, and then Julian saying he's 5-star quarterback going to Alabama.
Elijah Brown, Otter Day.
Yep. Elijah Brown, he's one of the best winners in the class. He's only lost one game in his high school career. Another guy, Jaden Davis, he's favored to go to Michigan right now. And hey, let's just be honest here. Michigan, they've had a lot of misses at quarterback, and they missed out on Dante Moore this past cycle. It's a huge loss. You miss out on your state's top player, quarterback. I'd say a position of need after J.J. McCarthy. And I think Dante Moore would give J.J. a run for his money. I think Dante Moore is that good. And he's going to start at UCLA. I mean, just go back and watch him in the All American Bowl. Watch him all
Ridiculous.
season long. Just, he's one of the best players in the country, regardless of position. Yeah, Michigan getting Jaden Davis, that would be a big time get for them. And like I said, they're currently the favorite. There's two players I want to talk about that are out in the state of Washington from Odeya High School. Two top 50 players. Jason Brown, he's a running back. And then Isendra Afua, he's an offensive lineman. Now they're from the state of Washington. I don't think Washington is in the driver's seat here for either one of them. I think USC and Oregon are in it more for Jason Brown. I think Jason Brown probably would put Washington at 2 or 3. But then Isendra Afua, if he had to put out a top 4, I don't know if Washington's in that right now. And
Right now, it's
I'm looking at Oregon as the heavy favorite as for a while. USC, they're trying to get him. But another thing that Afua he talked about when he got the Alabama offer, he said it was one of the greatest days of his life. You'd have to figure like maybe that's a dream school type thing.
never count out Nick Saban.
Yep, Nick Saban, never count him out. But the West Coast, they have a lot of talent in this class as well. California is loaded as usual. You already mentioned Elijah Brown, Mater Day quarterback. He's going to be a high riser. He's 6th quarterback in the composite, 53rd overall. I expect him to skyrocket this year. Up the rankings, Mater Day also has Brandon Baker, number 4 offensive tackle. Yeah, this class is pretty good. I think Georgia is going to finish number 1. That's obviously a year away from now.
But right now, it's looking like
But like we said, yeah, what Georgia has already in the class, already committed, you pair that with what's in literally in their backyard. If they just get what's in their backyard going forward, they're going to have like 5 or 6 5-stars. They're going to get a ton of 4-stars nationally. And just with that, that's going to be up there for best class of all time, given 5 top 10 players, 7 in the top 20.
and what their schedule is looking like. If they get to the championship again, win the championship, recruits are gonna see that. They're gonna be flying over there.
They're like the new Alabama.
Kirby's taking over. Maybe.
Is there anything you want to talk about before we get out of here?
I think that's it. Pretty busy signing day. Not as busy as the first period signing day, obviously.
Yeah, early signing day is pretty much taking all the
Pretty
attention.
wild, yeah. But still, pretty exciting day.
Exciting nonetheless. Yep. All right, that's going to do it for today's episode of No Huddle. It's our very first episode. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment what you guys want to see on our next episode, what kind of things you guys would enjoy listening to. And we'll catch you guys in the next video.
Peace.